Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, An Educator's Perspective on EdTech in the Classroom. We appreciate your joining us today. Before we start the program, I'd like to go over just a few quick housekeeping items. I know there's going to be a lot of questions for our speaker, Dr. Monica Burns, and we will be leaving time at the end of the presentation for a Q&A. You can go ahead and send in your questions as they come up for you, and we'll put them into the queue to be answered at the end. To send a question, simply click on the Questions tab on your control panel, type your question into the top box, and then click on the Send button. And as I said, I'll get that question and I'll put it into the queue to be answered at the end. If you have any technical problems during the presentation, use that same question feature to get my attention, and I'll do my best to resolve the problem for you. We will be providing you with a recording of the webinar and a copy of the PowerPoint slides, so keep an eye on your inbox for a link to those later today or tomorrow. Now let's get started. I'm pleased to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Monica Burns. Dr. Burns is a curriculum and EdTech consultant, an Apple Distinguished Educator, and founder of the popular blog and website ClasstechTips.com. As an educator, Monica was part of her school's federal magnet funding leadership team and was a vocal advocate for bringing one-to-one technology into her fifth grade classroom. Realizing the power of tech tools in the classroom, Monica started ClasstechTips.com to provide a resource for educators and administrators on implementing educational technology in the classroom. Since starting ClasstechTips, Monica has presented to teachers, administrators, and tech enthusiasts at numerous national and international conferences, including South by Southwest EDU, ISTE, and EdTech. She also visits schools across the country to work with pre-K to 12 teachers to make technology integration exciting and accessible. Monica is the author of Deeper Learning with QR Codes and Augmented Reality, a scannable solution for your classroom, and hashtag Formative Tech, Meaningful, Sustainable, and Scannable Formative Assessment with Technology, both published by Corwin Press. She's a graduate of the University of Delaware and Hunter College and completed a doctorate in global education leadership at Lamar University in 2016. We're really excited to have Dr. Burns with us today, and we're really looking forward to the insights and recommendations she has for us about educational technology in the classroom. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the program over to her now.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here with you all this afternoon to talk a little bit about the trends within the EdTech space, some strategies that you can use to connect with educators as you are sharing the story of your work. I wanted to jump in today to answer and address a handful of different questions.
Dr. Burns, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second. Your audio is really breaking up, so I'm not sure what we can do about that.
On my headset so that it would sound a little bit clearer, and I'm going to take my headset off. Can you hear me better now?
No, it's still really fuzzy and just kind of broken up.
All right. I've got my 3 bars on my computer audio up here.
I don't know if maybe you try to disconnect from the audio and
I'll
connect again. Okay.
It's a difference.
And I apologize, everyone, but at least this happened early on. We'll get it resolved and get back to the program shortly. All right, and it looks like Dr. Burns has logged off potentially and is going to come back on. So thanks everyone for your patience. Ironically, we're having technology problems with our EdTech topic here, but this is what happens with technology sometimes. While we're waiting for Dr. Burns, I'll just go ahead and let you know a little bit about our next webinar that's coming up on March 23rd. We're going to have Ellen Bialo from Interactive Educational Systems Design, IESD, you may know them as. She and her colleagues are going to join us to talk about how to leverage your customer data and results as part of your sales and marketing strategy. So they're going to give some case studies of some work they've done with customers out in the field collecting data on the efficacy of programs and how to share those with educators as part of your selling and marketing cycle. So that's coming up on March 23rd, and we will be sending out more information about that in the next week or so. So you can keep an eye out for that and hopefully join us. And it looks like Dr. Burns is getting back on, so hopefully we will have this issue resolved here shortly. And while she's doing that, I'll also just remind you that you can always go to the Agile Education Marketing website, which is agile-ed.com, and find recordings of all of our past webinars. So Dr. Burns, it looks like you're back. Let's test that audio.
All right now?
Yes, that sounds better. Let's hope it stays that way.
So sorry about that.
That's okay.
So I'm excited to be here with you today to talk a bit about trends in the space of education technology, as well as some connection strategies that you can use to really reach out and make sure your story is told with different companies. So again, just to share a little bit of my background, as a former classroom teacher and current curator of resources who gets to travel around to lots of different conferences and special events and of course work with different companies, I'm looking forward to sharing my perspective on this topic with you as well. So as you dive into different schools and you talk to teachers and think about the changing state of education technology in 2017, you'll hear a lot of the debate and conversations around the different types of devices that are being used in classrooms. So I'd love to start off with just talking a bit about this Chromebooks versus iPads debate as it takes into account the different types of devices and the different resources that schools across the country from both a pre-K to 20 environment have access to.
Dr. Burns, we're having the same issue. We did have an attendee suggest that maybe if you've got a cell phone close by to turn that off, that it might be causing interference.
Gosh, let me see. I don't have it nearby me, and I've been been using this GoToWebinar a good amount. So is that better now?
No, it's bad. I'm wondering if you should call in on a phone line, which I know is cumbersome for presenting.
No problem. I'll go ahead and switch to the phone call audio.
Okay. I'm so sorry for the problems. And thanks again, folks, for your patience. It looks like Dr. Burns is calling in from her phone, so let's keep our fingers crossed that resolves the issue.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You sound wonderful.
Okay, great. So we'll jump back into talking a little bit about this debate, if you will, or the conversation around Chromebooks versus iPads, which really leads us into thinking about the different types of devices that students have access to throughout the school day. So although
and Dr.
many
Burns, I'm so sorry to interrupt you again, but we're not seeing your screen now.
Okay.
We're going to get past this first 5 minutes.
Okay, is that?
No, I am not seeing it.
It says in my GoToWebinar control panel that it's showing the main screen.
Suzanne, can you chime in? Are you able to see it?
And it has my green light on for showing the screen as well on the left-hand side.
Oh dear.
I'll see if I can put it to just a window to the Microsoft PowerPoint.
Yep, that's perfect. We're seeing it now.
That works? Okay.
That's
all
it.
Right.
All right. We're smooth sailing from here, I'm sure.
Wonderful. So when it comes to the different types of devices that students have access to, there is a clear divide when it comes to tablet-based tools as well as Chromebooks. And you'll see that the popularity of Chromebooks in the past few years, especially when it comes to learning management systems like Google Classroom, that although they are friendly and compatible on iPads, I work with a school right now that's been very happy with Google Classroom on iPads. You'll see that Chromebooks are really taking center stage when it comes to schools that need to purchase devices that also prepare students for testing, so to go into that testing mode for when they have to take state tests. So there's wonderful things about both of these tools. It's important to take into consideration the types of schools that you're working with and the types of devices that they have. Your tool might be more mobile, where having an iPad or a tablet, the most popular of the tablet tools would be the device of choice, where for other schools, if you know you're working predominantly in a Chromebook ecosystem, having that Chrome extension to make that experience more seamless for students is also part of that discussion. So this leads us into thinking a bit about one-to-one versus BYOD. So this example of a one-to-one environment where each student has their own device. You might also work with schools where there are 2 devices for every child, where some schools have access for a laptop and or a tablet for students, as well as BYOD, which we're referring to the bring your own device environments, which can be very open, where students are allowed to bring whatever device that they have that's connected to the internet, or very controlled, where there are profiles put onto devices that students bring in. They're encouraged to purchase one of, say, 2 or 3 devices that's been approved by the district or vetted for the specific tools that are being brought in as well. So within both of these spaces, the idea is that you're bringing in tools that are now wide open, so casting a much wider net as you shift into kind of a consumption versus creation mindset of the different types of tools. So schools are now prepared for lots of different devices, for different mindsets, and companies that are working with these schools need to understand that that is becoming a more popular model. So having tools that are web browser based, and or native mobile apps, and that prepare students for both the consumption and creation they will need to do on digital devices. So you may have a product that works within both of these spaces or in one or the other space. So right now, when people are talking about education technology in 2017, they're thinking about how are students consuming content, how are they watching, how are they viewing content, but then also how are they creating content, how are they making a product that demonstrates their understanding, in addition to using a tool simply to read or to view or to watch something. And of course, both the consumption and the creation experience is elevated than it was in the past, right? We're consuming in new ways, but we're also creating content in new ways, and that creates opportunities for a wide range of learning experiences. And the piece that we want to think about that brings us all together, especially when you're thinking about your different markets, is there's a shift now to not necessarily you're thinking solely about the Common Core standards, but understanding that in addition to national standards that might be adopted more widely, for example, say in ISTE standards, which are thought of, outside of a particular state for thoughtful technology integration. There's also now more state-based and local standards to take into account as shifts from national standards like the Common Core take place in different states. So having an understanding of that piece when it comes to the state of education technology right now is crucial. Right, as you walk into different environments, as you pick up the phone for different types of calls with teachers in different places or educators in different places, having an understanding of what standards, are there everyday standards and what standards may not be in place is all part of really thinking about the trends for this year and what people are talking about as well. So what does thoughtful, successful technology integration look like? Well, there are some key pieces to take into consideration when you are speaking with schools and assessing what level of readiness they have for integrating a variety of technology. First and foremost, infrastructure support is varied in different buildings and locations, and understanding the realities and the challenges that teachers face when it comes to connectivity in particular is very important for being able to communicate your message and support the needs of students and teachers when on the ground. So you will have schools that have really fantastic, strong support networks that can make the best use of all the different devices, but then you also have schools where there are pockets of strong wireless connection where the planning for that is mixed at best, and you may have some areas where schools and teachers and students are able to connect very easily, and other moments where it is very challenging for them to connect to the network. So tools that are in that no to low internet category are very popular in those type of environments with limited connectivity, although plenty of schools are prepared and are working towards those goals with the support of larger organizations, their districts, support from the community to make sure that their infrastructure is strong enough to maintain levels of connectivity throughout the school day. There are different types of adoption frameworks when it comes to thinking about thoughtful, successful technology integration. You will hear people speak about the P21 standards when it comes to the creation and collaboration taking place on different devices. So the Partnership for 21st Century Learning is a wonderful resource to go to find some of the vocabulary around thoughtful technology integration, what it means to really take students to the next level when they are using technology devices in a purposeful manner. Coming back to the mention of the ISTE standards, ISTE, the conference, of course, taking place every June, and this June in San Antonio. You can access their standards online if you're a member of the organization as well, and they've had updated standards recently and ones that fall into categories for teachers, for coaches, for leaders, for students. So thinking about those frameworks and the language around that type of standard is important. That sets of standards, if you will, is important to take into account when having conversations with school leaders and making sure that you're addressing the needs that they've already identified as it comes from these other organizations. The SAMR model, another very popular model that teachers will turn and ask and talk about. Just recently I was at TCEA in Texas and gave a presentation on scannable technology using QR codes and augmented reality, and a teacher said to me after the session, where does this fall in the SAMR model? Is this a substitution? Is this an augmentation? Right? She really wanted to have the language to bring back to her teachers in her district. This is a coaching level, to be able to talk about what purposeful technology integration looks like. So understanding the popular frameworks, it's more than just an acronym or a buzzword. So as you think about the P21, the ISTE, as well as the SAMR model, thinking about those are ones to really frame conversations and will help other people understand the levels with which your understanding is in terms of what integration should look like when it's successfully implemented. Additionally, you'll find that there is a large variety of professional development support for schools that are using technology tools, that have adopted technology support. There are many companies that offer professional development to schools who contract with their particular tool to really help the implementation be meaningful if a subscription has been purchased, at a large district level. But professional development will vary greatly in different schools and different buildings, and often is not made a priority when it comes to the technology piece, although more and more you'll see school leaders that are thinking through how, say, a literacy professional development budget or a math professional development budget is not necessarily isolated from, training on how to use technology effectively within those particular subject areas and disciplines. So, for example, you might have a school that is struggling to find the funding to bring in professional development for what they see as, Google Classroom PD, but then when it's sought kind of a second round, it's not just Google Classroom professional development, it is professional development around, integrating a learning management system into best practices for literacy instruction. So you'll see that professional development varies. Some companies will offer professional development as part of large packages to make sure their product is being successfully used. Not only is that wonderful for schools and educators looking to implement technology effectively, but it also helps them ensure that their product is being used correctly, effectively, and that there's buy-in to help with future sales and renews of contract as well. So professional development will vary greatly within the space. In order for technology integration to really be thoughtful and successful, consistent implementation has to take place, and this really comes back to the first 3 bullets that we see here on the slide. Is there a strong enough infrastructure? Are the adoption frameworks being used, clearly communicated with teachers? Are students feeling the benefits and seeing the connections to those standards or frameworks, whether more generally or very specifically as part of teacher planning? And is there professional development that will support technology integration within content areas that is actionable and relevant and beyond, how to use a tool in terms of opening it up and loading student names and creating logins, right, but how to integrate that into curriculum goals. So when technology integration is thoughtful and successful, there is consistent implementation and use of the tools for specific learning goals as well. So identifying all those pieces really makes that work very successful. So what are educators looking for when they are searching for products that are going to be used in their classroom? Well, they want to see the value, right? How is this solving a problem? Is this a solution to a problem that they've always had, a problem that they didn't know they have until we've identified the problem and then offered a solution? So is there value within a product that is going to really address a clear need within the school day, and it should be something that they have communicated as a problem, or something that as soon as the communication takes place and the messaging that a company has is so clear that they see that they have a problem that they can identify and have value within that as well. Educators, and this comes back to our conversation on Chromebook versus iPad or one-to-one and BYOD, they're looking for things that are both device-specific and device-neutral. So if they are a school that is using Chromebooks, has invested in professional development around using Google Classroom, right, they're looking for tools that are going to be specific to their device, right? Doesn't mean it can't work for other ones as well. But if you have an iPad school that's invested time, resources, and energy in developing iTunes U courses, right, they want to make sure that there's a native iOS app that integrates, or a beautiful mobile experience that would work well on that particular platform. So educators are looking for things that are going to work on the devices that they have. That being said, there are plenty of environments with a mix of devices. So when they're on the search, it's not so much about this should align with our iPad implementation or our Chromebook implementation. They're looking for something that is device neutral, right? They've phased in a wide variety of devices. They want to make sure that whatever it is that they purchase or invest their time and resources in is device neutral. So is this going to be something that works within the Safari app for a beautiful mobile experience on an iPad, but then also works on a web browser for a seamless Chromebook experience? And so I can share with you that when I go to schools, right, when I am talking to teachers, when I am presenting in kind of large-scale events, I'm sharing device-neutral tools. There might be device-specific folk in the audience who only care about iPad apps, but I know more and more these are mixed environments where teachers have access to a range of devices. So they want things that are going to work on all of their devices well. So when I speak to audiences and when I share, more often than not, I am really bringing in tools that are device neutral, so ones that will work on multiple devices. Of course, if I go to a school and I'm working with teachers where I know they're true iPad one-to-one, right, I'll highlight some fantastic iPad-only tools, but you will see whether you're at a conference or casting a wide net on social media that having things that fall into a variety of categories or device neutral will be your best bet. In addition to looking for tools that solve a problem and fit in with the logistical needs of a particular building, having a clear connection to learning goals and being able to communicate that is something educators are looking for. So they may be looking for a tool that helps them solve a problem when it comes to, right, their learning goals. So is this going to help students learn how to navigate fractions and compute with fractions in a more effective manner? Is this tool going to help address some of the formative assessment challenges that they've been having, in their science classroom? So a clear connection to learning goals is crucial. Many websites that are, or many companies that are successful will have on their website case studies that outline how their tool is being used in actual classrooms. And it's powerful to have a strong quote from a teacher with their name and their grade level and their location. It's more powerful, although more difficult, and investment necessary to have videos of teachers speaking to this work within their classrooms. So when you are looking, perhaps it's at another product within the industry and you see some of their wonderful tutorials when you hit their landing page, right, that's what connects teachers to an understanding of how this can be implemented in their classroom. Those interviews, those quick 30-second videos that helps them paint a picture, in addition to perhaps having some clear, lesson plans or lesson connections available as well. So companies are doing things well. Those that are doing things well include offering free incentives, and I'll share some kind of specific examples as we talk about this piece too. They're getting people to their website. So I know on my site just this week, I share the Kidum folks have an awesome assessment tool. They offered a free blended learning guide, like a blended learning 101. I share that on my site, and the response has been fantastic, right? So people are going there to grab those free incentives. They're now on their site. That company has more brand awareness. There might even be kind of content upgrades associated with that to grab emails more strategically. So having free incentives to get people in the door and notice your tool, whether you're a paid or a free product, is really essential. And you'll see that more and more from a digital marketing standpoint, the opportunity to offer a poster, an ebook, an infographic. It can be for the purpose of brand awareness or for increased engagement on social media platforms, but it could also be more strategic to grab emails, have an opt-in so that you can connect with people who are generally interested in the topic that you are working to address, whether that's a problem that you're solving or a particular solution that you have in terms of a platform. So companies are doing a great job at offering free incentives, and Kidum, Kiddom, is one that I like to give as an example. It's a fresh ebook that they have for teachers. It gets teachers interested, seeing the purpose of their tool, making connections, and it brings people to their site. So whether you have free content that you're pushing out, in the form of tips on a blog post or a downloadable, having something like that, that initial incentive is huge. And that might be paired with something that we would put more in the freemium model as well. So that might be something where you're kind of thinking about a free trial or a basic set of services that are going to be completely free and open. Some companies will do this from, for a beta launch, if you will. Other companies will get people in the door for just a set trial period. Newsomatic is a wonderful example of a strong, current events app and web-based tool for students. They are a subscription-based service, but they provide a free trial to get people in the door, right, to try out their tool and make sure it's a right fit, because you want everyone to be happy, right? If they decide to subscribe to something, we want to give them a chance to try it out, but then you also want to make sure that they are excited to jump in with it as well. Other companies will have more of a true freemium/premium type of service options for schools or for individual teachers to use as well. And so in this type of model, you will have a basic kind of open platform, and then if you want more, you are grabbing the premium services. Seesaw, a wonderful learning management system, digital portfolio tool. Teachers use it in different ways. That's a great example of one that has a basic use for being free, and then if you want more, if you're invested in the tool, you can upgrade and have more features. Nearpod, a wonderful tool for interactive presentations, embedded formative assessment, same thing, right? They have the free trial, so you can try out all their premium services, and then they also have a freemium model so that you can always use the tool before you decide to upgrade, if you will. Within both of those spaces, when you're making that shift to freemium to premium, you'll find that companies' pricing models may be, for individual teachers who are looking to invest and make use of the tool. Other times you will have schools and districts that will make the shift from free level to a premium level, and then will upgrade all of the accounts within their district or within their school system, depending on what kind of the ask is, if you will, to provide those extra services. Additionally, companies are doing a good job of engaging with teachers. So when they are connecting with teachers, they're really thinking about building relationships and moving beyond just the sales pitch. This is especially powerful for tools that, they're not making their money by selling to individual teachers. They're making their money by selling to large contracts to districts and schools. And so in this case, they're building a community of teachers who then become advocates and power users of their tools. So this engagement with teachers happens in a variety of ways. It might happen with an ambassadorship type of program where teachers are given kind of an extra level of certification with a tool, early access, special webinars, events, swag, t-shirts, you name it. So engaging with teachers in that type of community, but then also engaging with teachers in online communities as well. Blooms, B-L-O-O-M-Z, is a really wonderful parent engagement tool. They participate, I should say, in a teacher-created Facebook group. I'm part of it, so I get to see the updates. And what's great about something like that is they're really reaching teachers where they are. Teachers are posting about their experiences with the tools, any hiccups if a new feature is rolled out. So then they can really engage with their community, get instant feedback, and make sure that they show their appreciation, and they're very connected with the teachers who are using their tool every day in their schools. So that engagement might happen through kind of an ambassadorship program once you've identified your super users or your power users. It might also happen within social media channels, like Facebook groups that are, invite only or open for particular teachers who are using a tool regularly, or it might happen with engagement that is taking place on a more kind of widespread channel, for example, something like Twitter, where if you're participating in different Twitter chats, if you are looking to see who's tweeting about things that are similar to the topics that your particular tool addresses, you're connecting with people who are demonstrating some interests that might be connected with the problem that you're going to solve for teachers with your particular tool. Companies that are doing well within this space are providing value. So in addition to having those kind of freebies kind of get you in the door, freemium services, and just the engagement level, they're solving a problem. So they are making sure that they are addressing a need. They are listening to teachers as they are sharing how that particular tool provides value as well. And so listening into these conversations, being open, especially in those high engagement communities like the Facebook one that I mentioned, is crucial. Companies that are doing well in this space are not presenting a problem and solution to teachers as much as listening and noticing a particular problem and then offering a solution. So whether these companies are picking up the phone or jumping on a Google Hangout with individual educators that they've identified, as super users or potential users through online channels, when they're at a conference, when they, show up to an ed camp, they're not even there to present, but they're to participate and to listen and to be part of the community as well. And that might be because you have former educators or current educators on your staff. It might be that you have a connection to a particular community as just a member of that community, but they are listening in and really valuing the voices of educators when they express particular challenges or concerns that they have. All of this comes down to providing a clear message, You've heard of those 30-second elevator pitches, but really understanding what it is that will resonate with your group when you are communicating with teachers, What are their pain points? What are you solving for them when it comes to providing a solution to a problem that has presented itself as well? So companies that have a clear message that are able to speak to the needs of a particular area, whether that's within a K-5 or 6-8 or 9-12 or higher ed space, and they are able to communicate what it is that they are addressing, those companies are finding success. So knowing that message is crucial because you're going to want to share that message widely. And there are different ways that you can share your message. So when you know what your purpose is, what it is you're looking to accomplish and share when it comes to what your particular company offers, there are a variety of channels to get in touch with folks. From a social media perspective, getting started on social media when it comes to sharing a message of a particular company or a product that you are launching, it's a wide landscape. And teachers are in lots of places, They may be within Facebook groups or postings on Facebook personally. They may be on Twitter as an educator, actively participating in Twitter chats or casually tweeting or reading other people's tweets. And many educators are on Pinterest, where they may be sharing things, but more often than not, they're searching for things. Pinterest has shifted greatly from being a place to just bookmark favorites, both inside and outside of the classroom favorites, to being an SEO, a search engine optimization, friend-optimized platform where you can type in a keyword and you're finding content that is relevant. So teachers are using Pinterest not just as a place to keep favorites, but more and more to find information that they're on the hunt for. And in this space, when it comes to education, Pinterest is a huge area that can be hard for companies to dive into if they don't have a lot of content to share. But that comes back to sharing teacher stories, sharing freebies, sharing options for getting started with the beta programs or with a freemium model as well. In addition to navigating the social media spaces, email campaigns are really becoming a focus when it comes to getting eyes on content. And so you'll have companies, whether it is small or large, right, using their social media platforms not only to share messages, but also to capture emails. And this comes back to the idea that you are providing content to teachers, and as you're doing that, you are capturing their email. People are much more likely to respond and see an email in their inbox as opposed to a tweet of many, right, or one of many Facebook posts or one of many Pinterest posts. So when it comes to kind of getting started and sharing your message, it's not that social media isn't key. You want to make sure that you have a presence and that you're using that as a platform to share and engage, but you also want to make sure that you are placing an emphasis on gathering emails from people who have expressed interest in your product so that you can follow up with them and use those leads later. The algorithms for Facebook and Pinterest move content all around. They're showing people what they think they want that person to see, so it works in the content consumers, favor, because those algorithms are designed to help give them meaningful, rich content. However, those folks who are pushing out content to those people are often placed in situations where they need to do more targeting advertisement. From an email perspective, you are getting into someone's email inbox in a way that is not competitive the way that your Twitter stream might be in terms of grabbing someone's attention. Virtual events are fantastic ways to share messaging. Again, this has to be something that provides value for teachers. So you might not have a webinar that talks about what your particular product does step by step, although you will want your users who are using your product already will crave that. You will want to have virtual events that provide larger value that seamlessly integrate your product into the conversation. So virtual events are powerful. You can reach many more people all at once. I've worked with, for several years now, the wonderful team at Simple K-12 that offers free Saturday events, where hundreds and hundreds of people will pop on and talk about or learn about, I should say, different types of EdTech integration strategies. So virtual events where you're able to promote that you are sharing information that's going to be actionable and ready for teachers within your topic will help introduce people to the tool. So similar to when you have a freebie or a content upgrade, people are interested in learning about that particular topic. Since you now identify them as being an interested party, you can target your marketing to them more effectively. In addition to virtual events, on-site events for building relationships are crucial. And you may start at a small regional level, or you might know that you are particularly popular or have a lack of popularity in a particular region, and you might identify those geographies as target areas. But you want to make sure that you are present with your audience. So I was talking to a company earlier today that they know they want to target district leaders, not classroom teachers, right? So they will be at a superintendent conference that's coming up, where if you know you're building from the grassroots and want in classroom and you want to connect with teachers who might become beta testers or power users, you might show up for an ed camp, or you might show up for a statewide event that is specific to a larger subject like math or ELA, or is, technology centered, for an EdTech conference. Having a booth, right, on site at an event like ISTE or FETC or TCEA, the larger EdTech conferences, that can be prohibitively expensive when it comes to sharing your message, sharing on-site events, and we'll talk about some conference strategies shortly. But it is important to make sure that there is, a presence that is meaningful as well as just being physically within the space. Influencer campaigns are another way to share your message, finding someone who is not just a power user of your tool, but influences the decisions of potential tool users. This could be a blogger, this could be a speaker, this is someone who you support and share your tool with, because they are able to connect you with a larger audience by providing some credibility, by spending time within your tool and using it, and then being able to speak to it. I know this is something that I do for different companies, and many people will dedicate, their time to learning more about a particular tool, and if it's a right fit with their current messaging, right, they can make that sort of partnership, a little bit more purposeful and meaningful for everyone involved. So there's a lot of ways to get your message out, whether it's through social media, direct email campaigns, where you're either leveraging the power of someone else's email list to speak to you, which might connect to more of an influencer campaign, or you are working hard to gather emails of interested parties or people that you've met. And then balance between both using the virtual events, which might be an easier way to get started connecting with folks, and balancing that with this large scale of on-site event opportunities. As you are thinking specifically about social media, which we'll linger on before moving into some conference tips, you really want to make sure you identify your purpose. So, I mentioned Pinterest being really popular, but you need to think about your purpose for sharing content on that platform. Right? Is it brand awareness? Is it bringing people to a particular landing page? Are you trying to meet someone who can then use your product and share with you? So all of those type of things will come down to the decisions that you make, right? If your purpose is to push out information, you might choose something like Twitter or Facebook or Pinterest, depending on what your imagery looks like and the content that you have. If your purpose is to engage folks, you might create a Facebook group or community for people to talk about what they're passionate about around your particular tool. If you're looking to kind of do one-on-one connections, Twitter might be a place that you spend a little bit more time in. So it really comes down to what your purpose is. You want to make sure that that is providing value again, whether that's content that someone will see as valuable and that they're able to connect with. And of course, developing a community and conversations around a particular use case for your tool. This will be a huge fact-finding for companies looking to strengthen their product, but also a wonderful way to understand, how people are using the tool and what type of messaging will connect with potential new users. Targeting your audience can happen through strategic ad campaigns as well. So as you start to build your following, for example, you might have a few thousand Facebook followers, but because of Facebook's algorithm, your post to your Facebook page might not pop up automatically right on their feed. You can target within your audience that's already been identified as interested parties, or you can expand for greater brand awareness by having targeted ads for specific user groups and demographics and locations and keywords. And with Pinterest as well as with Twitter and Facebook, you can target your audience that way too. When it comes to being on the ground and at a conference, maybe you're prepping for ASCD at the end of March or South by Southwest or ISTE, you really want to make sure that there are a few different things that you're doing. First and foremost, that you are connecting with people. So this might be someone that you cold called, emailed and reached out to set up a time to meet for coffee and share your product. This might be a special event that you're holding at a booth as well. But you want to find time and space to connect with people who have expressed interest in your product or who are influencers who might be excited about your particular product. You want to spend time listening into what other people are excited about. What are the other tools that are competing within your subset of the marketplace? Why are people excited about them? Why are people frustrated with them? So really, again, thinking about this like a fact-finding mission. You want to share your messaging, so what you're sharing on your particular site, on your social media channels, you now have the chance to share in one-on-one conversations, in a more targeted, say, a sponsored session that you've set up with a particular organization or conference as well. You want to spend time hosting folks too. So it could come back to those one-on-one conversations with having someone sit with you for coffee and you know, taking care of them in that way. Or you might host off-site events. It could be a happy hour. It could be a dinner for a small group. These are the type of things where you can really push some brand awareness. You can invite some key influencers and have them, you know, share specifically that they will be at that type of event. But hosting a get-together, large or small, is increasingly popular, especially for companies where they find the benefit of spending, you know, half the money that they would on a booth. They would then spend at an event to, you know, purchase appetizers for educators or for stakeholders, depending on what their reach is in a particular region. And then most importantly, you know, having a clear follow-up. So if you are in a booth and you're scanning badges, you have that plan of what messaging you're going to share with attendees for a particular event. You have a strategy set, so when you are speaking to someone on the ground, you know what your follow-up is going to look like as well, so that you can make sure that things happen in a timely manner, that you are consistently connecting with folks who have expressed interest that you've met when you're on the ground at a conference at WAP. So when you are thinking about getting the word out, connecting to folks that are interested in this space, but then also that you know, have that clear perspective of what is happening in the space to make those connections in your conversations. Messaging is clear. Setting a purpose is clear, you know, whether you are placing your energy on one-to-one conversations, conference presentations, or using social media.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Burns. This was a lot of great information. We had a little bit of a rocky start, but everything came together, and I thank you for providing all this information. We do have some questions that have come in, so we've got a few minutes to take those, so let's get started. But actually, before we do those, I'm just going to remind everyone, because the number one question we've gotten is, you will receive a copy of the PowerPoint and the recording of this webinar. Just keep an eye on your inbox for that later today or tomorrow. So, our questions. Let's start here at the top. At what grade are you seeing students start to use devices? And then kind of an ancillary question, at what grade are you seeing learning really becoming primarily digital?
Two fantastic questions. So you will definitely see devices, you know, from pre-K all the way to higher ed. In the pre-K space, there are definitely conversations about limited screen time. So you may see, you know, certain, you know, apps or use with manipulatives, you know, something like a Tigly, Tiggly. They have some great manipulatives that go along with screens. You will have more of an emphasis on talking as students are interacting together with the screen, as opposed to just, you know, plug and play with a video. So it's happening at a younger level. Tablets tend to be more popular in the K-2 space because of state testing. You will see a clear shift to screens that then have a keyboard. So that could be iPads with like a clam case that has a keyboard attached, or Chromebooks, and that will happen in grade 3, which is primarily, you know, nationally where you'll see testing take place on devices. You know, that being said, it's a generalization. You know, you'll still see, you know, iPad one-to-one programs at the high school level and the higher ed level too. So really you're having a wide range of adoption. There's pockets where that switch is happening to being, you know, majority with screens and tablets or devices out during the school year. But those are few and far between when it comes to a full-scale, you know, paperless environment.
Yeah, and I know it varies from district to district and school to school where you know, where schools' budgets are and where that transition is. So that's definitely a moving target for folks.
Yeah, and you'll have schools that even though they are one-to-one, they just do not have the support, if you will, from a logistical and PD standpoint to really truly go paperless. But it just depends. You know, the implementation varies greatly.
Yeah. We have quite a few questions around the whole freemium model and the giving things away for free, so we'll go through some of those. Yeah. One was around that their entire curriculum is free. So using the free hook may not be where they need to start since their ultimate goal is free. Do you have some recommendations for how to get people in the door when everything they have is free?
Yeah, and it's a wonderful situation to be in, that you're able to offer that, and that as an open resource. But when it comes from a marketing strategy, specifically, the free content upgrades, even if your content is free and your goal is to, say, increase your user base as a metric for success, as opposed to just hitting a certain target in terms of revenue, you will want to use that hook of download this free poster. Here's an actionable resource you can use right now. That will capture email so you can remind people about your free product. So the value for them initially, of course, there's a huge amount of value in a product that is open and free and they can use all the time, right? But you need to be able to convince people to invest the time to investigate your product and to adopt it, right? So you might have different strategies for getting people in the door, and once they're there, it's going to be free and good to go. So it's not so much about selling them, with a particular number. You want to sell them so that they give you some of their time to dive into a product. One thing I know I've done for different companies that has been really successful, a free open tool, but this particular company wanted to get some feedback on their tool. They were able to, we did like an Amazon gift card giveaway, and so people who filled out their survey, who then, there's an email attached to that to be able to keep in contact with them, right? They were entered to win an Amazon gift card. And so something like that, where you are providing really clear value beyond just we address these particular issues in math or ELA or a particular subject area. You want to do something that people are going to act on right that moment, because their time is super valuable, and there are a lot of competing factors for them to take that time to click through it and learn about a particular tool.
Yeah, and I think, again, whether it's a paid product or a free product, the principle of you've got to do that lead nurture is the same. You've got to get those people in the door, and then you've got to start making those connections and showing them the value, whether you're asking for money or not with that product.
Exactly.
So also around freemium, of course, typically with the freemium model, you're trying to convert those to paid subs. So do you have any recommendations for once you've got people trying the product through the freemium to getting them to upgrade to that paid model?
Yeah, I think communication is key. Helping people understand, what the value is going to be in continuing this, not in a you're paying, otherwise you're going to lose this, right? Which is sometimes how it feels when you do that freemium to premium switch. Or if you've done a trial, say, to let people try out premium features. But if you want people to take it to the next level, they always have the opportunity to use those premium pieces. You really need to show them how this is taking, their work, to a place that's going to make it easier or more effective for their students. So a lot of that is storytelling and communication. So sharing stories of things that are happening that could not happen with the freemium model, right? But if they are able to upgrade, they can do this, very special thing, for example. Or it could be something where you are just, in that, why don't you try out this, or have you thought about that? Here's what we can do to really, bring you up. That does involve this other piece. And for some teachers, they are, have the capacity to invest in their own specific classroom-based account, but also providing resources for teachers to help them communicate the why that they can then bring to their administration or whoever's making the decisions when it comes to the financing of an upgrade like that, giving them the language, the tools, the support to be able to say, this is why my students need this, is very beneficial. Not because teachers, can't communicate that or they don't see it, but because, they're in a time crunch. And so giving them the resources, giving them a white paper, or offering to be part of those conversations with school leaders is huge.
That was really helpful, but it also answered the next question we have.
Okay.
So I'm going to move on to one last one, and it's a toughie one. But Oftentimes, companies just hear what they hear from schools is that they can't afford the computer, the laptop, the iPad, any kind of technology. What are some things that EdTech businesses can do to try to combat that or help schools find the funds to get the products?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's challenging because, if you're providing, devices for schools, you kind of get into, an E-rate issue in certain areas when it comes to, providing or gifting of different types of devices or support. So that's something to be mindful of. What you want to think about is what particular challenges they have, and if it is actually physically getting devices in, you might have a grant writer on your staff, or you might connect them with someone with that kind of experience and share with them, hey, these are the grants coming up in our particular region. Can we help you write a grant that would help get you, these Chromebooks? Hopefully you would want to use our product when you get the Chromebooks, but that being a way to really help bring technology into particular schools is to really connect them with the resources they need in order to petition for state level funding, private grants, or even things on a much smaller scale like helping support or facilitate, a Donors Choose type of campaign where you're bringing people together and, supporting them with connecting all the resources that they can then go out and really ask for the devices to come into their building. And you may, as a company, target schools that have specific types of funds that can be used for that, used for technology specifically, and help with that decision process if that feels like those opportunities arise. But it is challenging to walk into schools that are struggling to find the funding to make something like that happen.
That's a great suggestion, and I think it really points to what you've kind of been talking about throughout the presentation of how important it is as an EdTech business to really be a partner to the educators that you're trying to serve. So providing that value, really talking about what problems you're solving, and then helping them implement those solutions. So that was very helpful. Yeah, and thank you again for taking the time to be with us and sharing all this information. I think it was really helpful to everyone. And thanks to everyone in the audience for joining us and for your patience with our technology problems at the beginning. One last final reminder that we will send an email with the recording and the PowerPoint slides, so you'll get those later today or tomorrow. And do keep an eye out for more information about our March 23rd webinar, which will be talking about how to leverage your customer data and their results as part of your sales and marketing strategy. Thanks again, everyone, and have a great afternoon.